Good evening and welcome. Say Om Shanti and welcome here to the Holistic Healing and Wellbeing in Yoga Silence, a transformative field. Since the beginning of this year, the International Yoga Day Committee at the UN has been hosting these monthly series, and today is the 8th gathering in the series. I'm Claudia Eisinger, and I'm with the Brahma Kumaris New York office of the UN. And I'm also a representative of with an focus area of communications. And again, wholeheartedly welcome you here tonight. So at the heart of the matter, we're gathering to co-create a sacred and generative space by inviting you and your authenticity and your full presence here and now. This is the opportunity for us to share and strengthen our inner practices together, our yogic practices. And yoga has many different expressions, but what really is at the essence? What's at the core? It's something we feel is something subtle. It's something sacred. It comes from within. It means union. It's the practice of connecting to the source of oneself and connecting to the Supreme Soul. It's a journey inward, through inner concentration, into this sanctuary inside, a sanctuary of silence, sweet silence. It's where we can find balance. It's where integration happens. It's where deeper shifts in heart and mind occur. And it's where healing and well-being can be attained in a real and holistic way. So we call this yogic silence. It is actually the transformative field within which the inner being, the soul, can naturally connect to the source, the Supreme Soul. And the aim of this connection is to ignite that inner potential, that inner power of the eternal being, the true self, as we draw on the love and strength of the divine. So deep transformation happens in this inner form, which can cause change in the outer form. It's what we witness in that classic metaphor of the caterpillar's transformation in the cocoon into a butterfly. True transformation, then, we see is a spiritual process. It's the inner world and the outer world are part of that same wheel of life. And so for the outer state of the world to be transformed, it's that inner state of the world that must be first transformed. So if peace is to be attained, we must start with inner peace. If the world needs stability, then we must start cultivating that stability from inside. So the intent of these gatherings is they are to be experiential, to be reflective, and to be a journey within, one that's both personal and also one that's collective. The space is designed here to support each of us and all of us in a subtle strength, to help us deal with our own personal challenges, and some that you will hear in the stories today, as well as face the situations in the world that we're witnessing at a global scale. This is also a collective experience. This is why we invite you all to join in. And as we observe and celebrate one or more of the UN International Days, which remind us to bring us together and make us stronger. And today we're celebrating the International Youth Day. Again, we invite you to settle into this space. It's a safe and sacred space for you to be here and bring your full presence. And as you listen to the experiences and the inner reflections of our panelists, we invite you to especially pay attention to what's occurring in your own personal reflective space during this time. So again, we're celebrating the International Youth Day, which was on August 12th. It was declared by the UN General Assembly in 1999. And in the UN Youth Strategy of 2030, it states that today the world is home to the largest generation of youth, young people in history. It's 1.8 billion. And close to 90% of them live in developing countries. They're connected more than ever. Young people want to and are already contributing to the resilience of their communities, proposing innovative solutions, driving social progress, inspiring political change, both in urban and rural context. So young people constitute a tremendous and essential asset, essential force in our world. And they are engaged across all 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. For this year, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says, humanity depends on the boundless energy, ideas, and contribution of youth everywhere. Today and every day, let's support and stand with young people in shaping a just and sustainable world for people and planet. And as we know, the International Youth Day theme this year is green skills for youth towards a sustainable world. Today is also India's Independence Day. And so we want to also honor that, honor freedom, and maybe in our time together, we can access and experience that inner freedom. So I am going to hand this over to Mariappan, who's originally from Malaysia. Welcome, Murli. He has a PhD in professional engineering. He's a practicing professional engineer. He's also associate professor of robotics. And he has a passion, in addition to passion for science, also for spirituality. Murli's been involved in the study as well of Raj Yoga meditation for over 27 years. He's coordinated the Brahma Kumaris activities in Malaysia, and he currently is the BK representative to the United Nations in New York, working closely with the youth and coordinating their activities. What I really appreciate about Murli is his sparkle of enthusiasm and your willingness to embrace the new and not yet known. You're eager to continue to learn and grow from all experiences. So welcome, Murli. It's good to have you here tonight.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you very much for this warm welcome. So welcome, everyone. It's a great time today, and thank you for joining us. So I would like to start with a very special evening because we just celebrated the International Youth Day in the United Nations on the 11th of August, on last Friday. We had around 600 participants in person from over 100 countries. So everybody was very enthusiastic. And everyone was very eager to see transformation to take place. Everybody was sharing about what they want to see, the changes in the world. So for us, we are very lucky to have a small group of youths who are very dedicated and committed, and they have developed this program. And today they're going to share with all of us their experiences in doing it. Because for them, actually, or for all of us, especially for me, transformation that happens, actually, it happens during silence. Like our program is about yogic silence. So when we are in silence, a lot of things happens inside, some realization, some awareness, some deep thinking and solutions. That's why all the scientists in the world, all the poets, all the singers, everyone, they will spend time in silence. And that's when things are born. So if I want to find a solution for anything in my life, then I really need to spend time in silence. So how to go about it, these youths will share with you, what awareness we should have and what is the process of contemplation that they have practiced to get that experience. And then what are the sustaining transformation that they have gone through. Okay, so with that, I would like to start by introducing to you the 4 youths that are going to share with us today. Okay, the first one will be Sanyukta Padmanabhan. So we call her Yuki. She's from Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. And she has completed a Bachelor of Science in Genetics. And she's going to start her medical studies next year. The second one is we have from Bogota, Colombia, Maria Paula. She's a psychologist, right? And she's now currently a trainer for organizations. And the third one, we have Amrit Chandrasekharan. He's from New Jersey, Piscataway, and he's going to start his studies in computer science. And our youngest youth who was going to share today, he's currently not here today, but we managed to get his recordings because he's currently in Bangalore. He's participating in the Harvard model of UN. Okay. And his name is Yuji Ichimaru. Okay. He's a 9th grader, self-studying. He studies physics, maths, and electric music. He's from Tsukuba, Japan. Okay. So all 4 of them will share about their understanding and what they have practiced. And also they will also share about their experiences going through that feelings and transformation and those deep silence. Okay. So the next for next section, I will invite Yuki, right? I'll invite Yuki to start the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Murali, brother, for the warm introduction. So today's agenda is filled with a lot of exciting things. First, we're going to introduce a concept that has helped our youth team in our daily lives. And then we're going to go into some youth stories. And then we're going to close with some silent reflection and meditation. And then end with some blessings, which we'll explain to you all at the end. So as Claudia's sister had said briefly before, the theme this year at the United Nations is developing green skills and developing a sustainable world. You may be thinking that green skills means recycling or cleaning up the world physically, but green skills to us means something more internal. Green skills are knowledge, abilities, values, and attitudes needed to live, develop, and support a sustainable and resource-efficient society. Today, we wanted to share with you ways to champion attitude. There is this acronym that we've been using to champion attitude, which is ACT. ACT is awareness, contemplation, and transformation. In the next few slides, we'll break these 3 down further to guide you in your own attitude change. And I wanted to remind you guys of why changing attitude is important in daily life. Changing attitude is important because it influences how we perceive and respond to situations. A positive attitude can lead to better relationships, increased productivity, and improved overall well-being, while a negative attitude can hinder personal growth and lead to unnecessary stress and conflicts. Adopting a more positive outlook can enhance resilience and problem-solving skills and lead to a more fulfilling life. So the A, awareness, is understanding the types of thoughts that we have and why having those thoughts, or why we are having those kind of thoughts. And a big part of this step is acknowledging these thoughts. C is contemplation. It's going in depth, in silence, to experience the shift in awareness, which then gives birth to realization or transformation. And the T, transformation, is putting our beautifully developed thoughts into action. So next, we're going to hear from Amrit, who's going to talk about our first letter, A.
So I'd like to thank Sister Yuki for that amazing introduction, for inviting me here and having this opportunity to share my experience. So the first step in A.C.T is awareness, as she said, and it's very important to improve our attitude so that we experience more happiness and joy throughout the day, right? But in order for us to improve our attitude, we must make sure that our thoughts are not impacting us, because our thoughts are what makes our attitude. For example, if we have a good thought, we end up having a great attitude, right? But if we have thoughts that are not so good, then our attitude would not be so good. So what I thought of doing was categorizing these thoughts into 5 different categories so that we can understand each thought individually and we can know which types of thoughts we should have and which types of thoughts we should not have. And we can understand which types of thoughts give us a good attitude and which types of thoughts give us a bad attitude so that we can experience more happiness in our lives. So I have the 5 different thoughts on the screen right now. So the first thought that I would like to explain about is ordinary. And these thoughts are basically thoughts that have no significant value or attainment. We don't really gain anything from them and we don't lose anything from them. We can have those thoughts, but it won't impact us in a positive way or in a bad way. For example, if I have the thought, okay, it takes 8 hours for me to get to Africa on a flight, well, there's no reason for me to have that thought because I'm not going to Africa anyways. But it's a thought that won't impact me. So it's a thought that I don't really need anyways. And the next type of thought that I would like to describe is the necessary thoughts. And these thoughts are thoughts that are actually in our daily lives. So for example, if I was to actually go to Africa in a plane, and if I planned that, then I would think, okay, it takes 8 hours to go to Africa. So I need to create these thoughts in my life in order to perform my tasks in the day. So if I wake up in the morning, I need to create a thought, okay, I need to wake up at 6 a.m. and not 7 a.m. because I have a meeting at 6:30 a.m. So I need to create these thoughts in my life so that it would help me. And the next type of thought is waste thoughts, right? And these are thoughts that are produced at untimely moments and that really cause us to worry. So these waste thoughts, they can cause anxiety, stress, and even lead to depression. So waste thoughts are usually thoughts from the past or the future that we don't need to think about right now. For example, let's say I made a presentation yesterday. In fact, I'm doing a presentation right now. So tomorrow, if I create the thought that, okay, yesterday I did a presentation and I said something and I embarrassed myself in front of everybody, then that thought is a thought that I don't really need because it's something of the past and I don't need the past right now. It's not going to help me at all. But what that thought does is that it causes stress in me. For the next few days, I keep thinking that, okay, I embarrass myself, and then I cause sorrow within myself, and then it leads, I eventually get depression from just that one thought, because that thought, when I first created it, it's very small, but then it starts expanding, and it impacts me in a very bad way. So it's very important to check what kind of thoughts we have. And then another type of thought that I would like to talk about are the negative thoughts. And these thoughts are based on the vices that we have, which are anger, lust, greed, attachment, and ego. So if I create a thought like this toward someone else, then I'm affecting that person, but I'm affecting myself as well. For example, if I have thoughts of anger or greed towards a certain thing or a certain situation, a person, then that would affect that person, but then it would cause sorrow in me as well. So, and another type of thought, the final thought, is positive thoughts. And these are thoughts that give us and others the experience of peace, of love, of joy, of power, of purity, and of bliss. So these thoughts really help us cause happiness within ourselves and with others around us. So I think it's very important to understand that the thoughts that we have are not only created for others and other situations, but they also have a deep impact on us. So in my opinion, the way for us to improve our attitude, the way for us to act is to check in the day what kind of thoughts I have and put each thought in a certain category. Is my thought a waste thought? Is it a positive, negative, necessary? So I can check which thoughts I had throughout the day are waste, which thoughts are negative, and transform those thoughts into better thoughts. This way, that my attitude would be better, and I would experience less sorrow and more happiness, because I want that, right? Because happiness feels good, and I would have a good attitude as well at the end of the day. So that sums up the awareness part of it, being aware of what kind of thoughts I create. And now I would like to pass it on to Sister Yuki for the contemplation, the C aspect of A.C.T. Thank you.
So the next step is the contemplation step. We're going to take a pause at any interval of time to empower the inner self. We do love our acronyms, so we made one for this part. It's SOS, which means to stop, observe, and steer. So we stop when we have a waste or negative thought, which is what Amrit had described earlier. We observe why we're having those thoughts, and then we go into deep silence. And then we steer to to move away to something more positive or useful. So for example, if I was doing a homework assignment for math and there was something that I really could not understand, I'm really frustrated, and then I become angry at this math problem. I then stop and acknowledge that, yes, I am being frustrated right now and angry at this math problem. I observe and say, and I acknowledge again that, yes, this is making me angry. And then I move myself to something more positive. This could be something completely different to something that I love to do, or it could be something useful, like saying, oh, maybe I can talk to my teacher, email my teacher about this concept, and then I can get help that way. So ways that we can use this contemplation step is, it could be through many different ways. It could be through music, like dancing or instruments, meditation, journaling, even having conversations with your loved ones, drawing, or just doing anything that you love to do. I'm a very music-oriented person, so listening or singing is a way I like to start my contemplation phase, and then transition into a meditative and yogic silence. So finally, we're going to hear from Maria Paula, who is going to talk about our final letter, T.
Thank you, Yuki, and thank you, Amrit. And it's such an honor to be here all the way from South America, but I'm so happy that we all share what this acronym, this powerful acronym means. And so let's talk about the T, transformation. And once that we saw how we create the awareness based on our thoughts, and then we have a space where we can stop and observe and then try to change the attitude towards the situation. But it's important to take into account the transformation. And that is something I was reflecting on, is that we haven't seen so many changes, I mean, good changes in the noisy and the external world, but we can see so many changes in the internal world if we start to change and check and change the thoughts that we have, that we create, and therefore we can transform our attitude, and then we can maintain that attitude towards the situations, towards the the climate change, whatever we are seeing in the world, even in the world that is near to us. I mean, the family and work and studies. So really, this, what we have heard, is an experience, an internal experience of that silence, because internally we can develop that. Instead of having so many thoughts, we can start listening to ourselves and then reinforce that positivity and start creating positive thoughts, and more it will be a practice that will bring that sustainability in your life and therefore in the world. So that's what we wanted to share. Thanks to Yuki and Amrit and Murli and Claudia. So now we are going to listen a powerful story, which is from Yuji from Japan. And so he started playing violin since the age of 4. And we are so fortunate to listen now, to enjoy this beautiful experience through music, as Yuki was saying. And he is expressing, he's putting into music his own experience of yogic silence. And isn't it that amazing that such a young age, at such a young age, he is already experiencing all of that. And I'm sure he will be so inspiring to you. So as Murli said, he is at Harvard Model UN in Bangalore, India. But we have a video that we're going to share with you now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Yuji, a 14-year-old from Japan. And even at my young age, I can genuinely say that A.C.T has changed me. For the better. In late 2019, a few years ago, I was in a very dark place in my life. I gave up on everything: health, social relationships, and grades, everything. And I started eating my way out of my problems, and I got really fat, and I got really unhappy. I thought of how my life was not amounting to anything and how it was a waste of space on earth. And at one point I even reached 41% body fat percentage, which was ridiculous because as a child you should not be getting that fat. And so there was a turning point, and that was when I discovered A.C.T. Once I was aware of all of these problems that I was having and I really wanted to change, I could contemplate, really look into myself and see what the root of the problem is. And when I solved that root of the problem, when I really discovered what it was and I solved it, it transformed me. It gave me the power I needed to really change my whole self. I went from 41% body fat to 14% body fat, roughly, in 1 year. And I'm much happier than I ever would have been without A.C.T. I can genuinely say that without A.C.T, I would still be a fat little kid stuck in his bedroom all day, not doing anything. And so now, even though I cannot be with you all today live, I would like to leave you all with a piece of music that symbolizes the ups and downs in life.
Thank you, Yuji. This music for Yuji was his feelings during contemplation, and I think it was so interesting to see the up and downs that is needed to get into the transformation phase. So today I wanted to share a personal journey that has shaped me into the person I am today. Hopefully you'll see yourself in my journey and it inspires you to act on your own personal goals. So growing up, I was often stereotyped to be academically gifted due to my brown skin, which I internalized at a very young age. I was always known as the smart one in my high school classes, but as I stepped into college, I encountered a challenging reality. I realized there were many other students who were just as capable as I was, and the rigorous coursework threatened to break me. I remember vividly when I received a B- on a test in chemistry class. You may think that that's not a bad score, but the score was like failing in my family because of the high expectations I set for myself. At that point, I kind of hit rock bottom. I felt uncertain if I could endure the coursework ahead and terrified of facing my parents' disappointment. However, this moment was of despair turned into a catalyst of growth for me. After weeks of deep introspection, I realized that my studying habits and mindset were holding me back. I needed to change the way I approached my classes and embrace the learning journey rather than solely focusing on the end goal, which in my case was becoming a doctor. By embracing this newfound perspective, I began to discover the joy of learning. I learned to relish the process of acquiring knowledge and skills rather than just fixating on the end goal. By doing this, I was able to enjoy learning and then also excel in my science courses. So after this transformative experience, I now apply this mindset to everything I do, and I find it to be incredibly fulfilling. So in my through the steps of ACT, I was able to figure out what I needed to change, what I need changing. Took the time to learn more about myself, have conversations with myself. I did this through meditation and even having polite conversations with myself in the shower or in my room. And then I slowly acted on these thoughts of change. Don't get me wrong, this is not a quick and easy thing to do. It took me a lot of time and practice to use this tool, but has definitely gotten easier for me. So next, we're going to hear a story from Maria.
Thank you, Yuki. And so, yes, me too. So I have experienced the A.C.T through my whole life. Specifically, it was very important for me to check my thoughts in college. During those 5 years, it was a long time ago, but I could really experience, and I could share that experience with my friends, because they used to ask me, Maria, how do you keep so pacific, so calm during this test and all of that? And I always share two things. And because we love acronyms, because they are so easy to remember, right? So it's for me is my personal mantra, which I learned from the Brahma Kumaris, and it's Om Shanti, which is I'm a peaceful being. And I always remember that whenever I had a stressful time with my family or with my sister, because she used to, we used to fight a lot, but then I tried to apply these things and change the way and my attitude towards her and towards the situation in college. And then, it was such a joyful life. And then everything was, well, everything is not everything is fine. Everything happens for a reason, but the way I saw the things, it was just fine. And then the other mantra I try to apply every day is to observe, but not to absorb the negativity and the influences. So for me, it's very important to have that skill. And I think it's a green skill because it makes internally to flourish. inner values and, things that will help you get through life. And so observe every scene of this wonderful life, but not let yourself be involved too much. That is, not to be absorbed by the negativity and the stress and the jealousy and every negative trait in others. And I think that's the key, to have just a wonderful life, and we can create an impact by transforming ourselves, changing our attitude. We can transform the world. So that's my sharing. And now I would like to pass on to Amrit so we can hear his story.
So, like the others, I also have an experience in my life where I've used A.C.T. and I've been going to meditation classes for the last 5 years, and that helped a lot too. So, my quote that I have for you is, gaining control over yourself is equivalent to gaining control over the world. And when you read this, you might think, well, how would you gain control over the world? You can't become the president of the world. Like, you wouldn't have control over every human being. And I don't really mean that when I say this. So I will explain what I mean by that. So from various experiences in my life, I learned that my mood completely depends on myself and no one else, regardless of who they are. I have the choice to decide what I think. I have the choice to decide if I will be happy or be sad. And if I don't let anyone affect my mood, then I would constantly remain happy. And there would not be anything in the world that can shake me. So it would be as if I have gained control over the world. Because if I have full control over myself, and if I can become happy at all times, there won't be anything in the world that can kind of stop my happiness or reduce my happiness. So for me, I was not like this in my whole life, actually. In my childhood, one big weakness that I had was that I would get upset all the time. I saw myself being very sensitive, and I would easily let a person or an event or a situation cause me sorrow and make me sad. And I did not want this to be the case. I did not want to be happy. I mean, I did not want to be sad. I wanted to be happy. So I felt like I could not really achieve this aim based on the situation I was. And I'll explain why right now. So while I was in 6th grade, I had a student in my class that would constantly make fun of me. He would constantly call me names. And because of that, I would get upset very often. Every time I was in his company or anywhere near him, I would just become sad because his vibrations were like that. His energy was like that. So then I thought, if I avoid him, then my sorrow would be cured. If I avoid him, I will be happy. But then after I avoided him, I didn't see any difference in myself. Because even after successfully avoiding him, I found myself getting upset over almost everything else in life. So although I was not taking sorrow from him, I was taking sorrow from others, other situations, other events, other people, but I was still taking sorrow. So there was no improvement. So that's the point. I was taking sorrow regardless. And this made me realize that anyone and anything can cause me sorrow. If I avoid one situation, then I'll get sorrow from another situation. And I cannot avoid every situation. I have to face things in life. So then this made me think that sorrow is inevitable. I will experience sorrow no matter what, until I started doing meditation. And there I learned through A.C.T. that I was experiencing sorrow not because of other people, but I was experiencing sorrow because I was taking sorrow. I was experiencing sorrow because of myself. It's not that someone else was causing me sorrow. I mean, that is kind of the case, but I didn't have to take sorrow from that person. So what I learned to do is to have self-respect, to think that I am elevated, to think I am an embodiment of peace. I am an embodiment of purity. And to have, after having this awareness, what someone said, it didn't make any impact on me. For example, if someone just makes fun of me and says, "You're a loser," I knew that wasn't true, and I didn't let that affect me because I knew that I was an embodiment of peace. I'm an embodiment of power. So after having that self-respect, I saw myself getting upset much less. And of course, now I haven't become perfect. I still have a lot of work to do. It's not something that comes overnight, like Yuki shared with her experience as well. And I, but ever since I started having this self-respect for myself, I've seen improvement. And improvement is all I need in my life. So to conclude, with the help of A.C.T, I was able to become aware, the awareness that I was experiencing sorrow. And then two, I was able to contemplation, that I was experiencing sorrow because I was taking it from others and not because others were causing me sorrow. And then the transformation, I was able to transform that sorrow into happiness by having self-respect for myself. So now that we've come to the near end of this presentation, I would like to introduce the silent reflection. So we have shared our experience, the three of us, Sister Yuki, Sister Maria, and myself, about A.C.T and how it helps transform ourselves. But we would now like to give you an opportunity to experience A.C.T through a commentary, a reflection. So thank you.
As I sit up straight and keep my eyes slightly open, I fix my gaze at a certain point, concentrating all my energy on it. I relax all my muscles, letting go of tension in my body as I ascend deeply into reflection. I take a moment to look over events that occurred over the past few days, recognizing that some of them created anxiety and worry within me. However, I choose to let go of those events, knowing that worrying about them would lead me nowhere. In my meditation, I became aware of the negative thoughts that I have recently surfaced in my mind. Instead of letting them cause me sorrow, I made a conscious decision to transform those negative thoughts into positive ones and hold good wishes for everyone.
From this moment onward, I resolve to cultivate only positive thoughts for everyone, refusing to let any thoughts affect my mood. As I continue to meditate, I understand that by transforming my own thoughts, I can contribute to transforming the world. I observe these thoughts like passing clouds, letting them continue and go without getting attached to them. I redirect my attention back to the present moment, focusing on my breath and finding solace in the gratitude I feel for the things I am thankful for. Om Shanti.
Thank you to all Yuki, Maria, and Amrit. And also not to forget Yuji, now in Bangalore. Thank you for your sharing on what things that you have practiced and also your experience of changing yourself and creating deep contemplation. And through that contemplation and through that deep silence, you have brought about some transformation. So thank you very much. And I would really like to invite everyone to also spend time with yourself, go deep into silence so that you can have very profound realization and can have a shift in your awareness. So silence is actually the key for bringing any shift, any changes in our life. So the more I spend time in physical silence and also in mental silence, and that really can give me a feeling of fulfillment and also can bring transformation. And this transformation that we are talking about, it is not just a mere change in certain things in my life, but this transformation is actually a sustainable thing. Once I have very deep shift in my awareness during my contemplation, then the changes that happens, it will actually bring changes in my life. And this positive change in my life will continue to happen and bring more and more positive changes in my life. This will give me a lot of positive feelings to be very positive in my life. So that is why this act that they have developed, this changing, understanding the awareness, creating contemplative thoughts, and going very deep into silence, and also to see the transformation in a very sustaining way. This will give fulfillment in our life. And the contemplation part is actually the most important part in this whole process. And this actually brings the very essence of yogic silence. So thank you very much. I would like to hand over, before we end this session, I would like to share with you all the International Day of Youth blessings that we have created for all of you. Now, this blessings is a very different type of blessing because all of you will get to choose your own blessings. There are 5 values will be shown on the screen, and you'll be given some time to choose which image that you like or which value do you like. And after some time, each value will open by itself, and the blessings for each of the value that you have chosen will be read to you. Okay, so with that, I would like to share with you these blessings. Okay.
Peace. With your vision of love and peace, you paint the world with the colors of hope and understanding. Light. As a pure-hearted soul, you let the light in your heart reveal the beauty in others. Gratitude. You see the world through the eyes of the heart, enabling you to appreciate the value of every moment and every soul. Healing. You are a truly benevolent soul who uplifts others with the healing power of your good wishes. Love. You are a wise soul who overcomes challenges not with force or rejection, but with love and acceptance.
I hope you all have enjoyed the blessings individually for you all. And I'd like to thank Sister Uma Devi Mariappan from Malaysia, who has put effort to create these blessings, special blessings. And now I'd like to hand over to Claudia. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilei. Thank you, Yuki, Amrit. Thank you, Maria Paula and Yugi. I don't know about you, but I feel my heart is expanded really wide and just full of such gratitude for all that you shared and the wisdom, the wonderful golden nuggets of wisdom and some practical methods and examples, and that power of transformation that comes from the inside. So there's something for each of us to take away tonight, and I hope you do that. And my understanding is this group is also wanting to take these ideas to many other youths and to have them be part of their UN projects as well. So we'll see what happens and how this will grow. So beautiful. So thanks again. And for our next in the series, we've got the next one is on Tuesday, 26th of September, and that is dedicated to the International Day of Peace, UN International Day of Peace. And we have something very special here. It's going to be a book reading by Todd Schussler. And it's the first day of peace. So it's something we're inviting all families for this special book reading. So we do hope you will join us again. So thank you.